The stars go dim and the skies turn black, 'cause
Welcome to What the Flick, everybody. Somehow, Ben Mankiewicz, Jonathan Kim, and Matt Atchity have survived the alien invasion and the battle for Los Angeles.
The stars go dim.
Aliens attack Los Angeles. They're attacking coastal cities all over the world. The Marines are sent in to establish kind of a line of defense.
Odd music in the trailer does not correspond in any way to the music in the movie, and I think actually that sends a bad message, because I thought the battle scenes in this were actually fairly exciting.
Well, it's a lot like Band of Brothers, or the beginning of
Get out.
No.
Seriously, get out.
No. The look
Get out.
of the action.
Get out. You have to get out and
It's
leave.
that fast shutter speed, lots of particles flying around, and I mean that's the about
The
the.
Saving Private Ryan of Alien Invasion.
No, just in terms of the way the action is shot, not in terms of the content of the movie. But I mean,
Neither like Band of Brothers. What is fucking wrong with
the
you?
fight scene, the battle scenes where they're running
No,
around.
I think the point you're trying to make is that here's a movie that has what is ultimately kind of a really shitty script. It's very
It's probably like a
that
20-page
in spite of a
script.
bad script, is kind of competently made from a technical
I
standpoint.
agree. Yes, I agree. And I know that's what you were trying to
I'd
say.
love to see Jonathan Liebsman get a hold of a really good script. Like, it's kind of the same thing he did with Darkness Falls. Really, really stupid
Yep.
movie about the Tooth Fairy, but you kind of see where he's coming from and what he's trying to do. You know, it's the way I felt about Unknown a couple weeks ago. You know, it's the same kind of thing. It's a dumb script, but
I didn't think but I don't think that's fair to Unknown, because the script in Unknown doesn't compare to this script.
no, this script is
This script is laughably
right. It's
horrific.
It's let's put every cliche about military action in a hat and pull them out and paste them together. And as you're watching the movie, it's like you hear a line. Well, there's number 20. There's number 35.
You were waiting for, I'm so cold.
right,
Very
exactly.
cold. I mean, it wasn't in there, but that
Exactly.
you knew it was coming. Yeah.
Tell my parents I'm sorry.
Tell my parents.
was there "Don't Die on Me"?
No, they're,
There's close. We're not dying
there
here.
was
but
there was
it's
one close to
Yeah.
there was
I'm
that.
not leaving you behind.
Exactly.
Give this to my wife.
Exactly.
And then the Aaron Eckhart character just at the beginning. He's the 20-year staff sergeant
Right.
who's going to retire.
Morning, Staff Sergeant. Staff Sergeant.
But obviously, there's going to be one more battle to pull in. He's had the
Right.
history where he let did he
Right.
let his Marines down? You know, and then even the car he drives, sort of, you know, he drives an old Mustang, I think
Yeah.
it is, and he's
Right.
a loner, and he doesn't have anybody, no family. His family is the Marines. Everything is brutal. This movie was, I thought, actually, totally competently shot, competently made, except when they were talking.
Yes.
Then it was brutal. It was like they were having a cliche off for the first 20
Right,
minutes.
absolutely. You know, like Michelle Rodriguez, like she shows
Then
up.
she shows up.
Right,
That's
she
a
shows
cliche
up-
all by itself.
Right, exactly. First
Yeah.
of all, she's cliche just the way they've cast her.
Right.
But then she shows up and she's this tech who's supposed to be laser painting targets and you know finding the mothership or something. And then they ask her, "Can you handle that gun?" She's, I didn't get this far on my good looks.
Yeah, right.
Cliche number 65.
Oh man, I think 65 was short. It's unbelievable. I'm sure we
Right.
all took exactly the same notes. Oh my God, it's just you couldn't have written the word cliche more.
Right, and they spend so much time in the beginning of the movie to establish these characters, and then everything about the characters basically gets thrown out the window where you don't care anymore. Like
I
this-
couldn't tell them apart. I know now I officially
Right.
sound like my father, but I didn't know who was who.
Right, there was one soldier who kind of had like PTSD, but then that never comes back because he's in a psychiatrist's office in the beginning.
There was one scene
but then
where he was,
it never
where he
really
was
comes back.
shivering, scared, but it was legitimate to be terrified at that point. Terrifying things were happening.
Right, it's fucking aliens.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's a movie where, like I was telling a friend, the plot of the movie is shooting things, and the subplot is blowing them up.
Okay, so now,
like that's all that happens.
But here's the thing. Now we've ripped that it's as bad a script as you're going to get this year. The other movie we're reviewing this week, Red Riding Hood, the script I think is better, and Red Riding Hood
Yes.
blows. I gave Red Riding Hood a 1. That said, we should talk about what's good about this movie, which is I was kind of into what happened next. Like, I cared about Aaron Eckhart.
Well, and you know, it was again really well shot, really well paced, really well timed.
All true,
It's,
yeah.
it's it's an engaging war film.
It's an engaging war film. That's right.
And they didn't overdo the steady cam. I mean, the shaky cam. Like at the beginning.
In the beginning,
during
they
some
did,
of
when
the
people are just
training,
talking.
I'm like,
Yeah.
shit. There's a lot of crap. It's gonna be a whole other movie with the shaky cam, and I'm gonna
Right.
go off on yet another rant. But no,
but
they
then
dialed that back, and you can actually kind of see what's going on, and it worked. And like the battle scenes, the little combat scenes, they set up. Okay, you get up to that point. You guys, defend this next 100-meter stretch, and you can follow what's going on. And from that standpoint, like being able to follow the different little battles, the different little firefights, and understand what's at stake in each one, that was extremely well done.
And while you say that they established some of these characters in the beginning and some issues with these characters in the beginning and then don't follow them through, some characters who they don't even set that story up with in the beginning, you end up caring about, like the lieutenant, who has a nice arc, and you do
Right.
care about, and a couple of other guys. So there were some characters that I did think sort of arced through, and those battle scenes, those individual battle scenes, they were good. And then they did something great that I think good sci-fi movies do, even in this era when technically they can really deliver. But some of the cool sci-fi movies from the 50s where they had no effects, except for maybe when Ray Harryhausen did some of the really cool stuff that he did. But because sometimes you watch some of these movies and you see the monster and you're like,
oh, it's a guy in a rubber suit.
You're like, oh my God, no, what have they done? For the love of God, what have they done? The best ones, and I think The Thing, you don't even see The Thing until the end. And here, they took a very long time to show us these aliens, and that was cool. And I started being like, who are these guys? What are they going to look like? Are they going to look like people? And then when they're revealed to us, it's interesting. And the first time you see it, you jump back. Roger Ebert, who obviously knows what he's talking about, he ripped this movie to shreds. I think everything he says is true, except I think he missed the overall picture that this is kind of fun.
When you invade a place for its resources, you wipe out the indigenous population. Right now, we are being colonized.
I give it a 4.9.
Oh, come on.
I feel
you're in the
like
ballpark.
I'd love to give it a higher score.
I know. We
but
got a little excited there. What do you
Yeah, I can't quite recommend it. It's got some interesting things in it. It's very visceral and exciting because it's all shaky. It feels like you're with the soldiers, but it also kind of feels like a video game. And I thought that they stumbled on the alien stuff. I wasn't crazy about it, so I say 4.7.
A couple of reasons why I'm going to give it a higher grade. I've made some of those clear. I thought Aaron Eckhart was kind of good, and the voice, which was a little Christian Bale Batman.
Yeah, he gets really whispery partway
Gets a
through.
little whispery. I kind of like that. Bridget Moynihan, I love to death. She's hotter than Giselle Bunchkin. That's the truth. Tom Brady, that's just a fact.
Tom Brady and his big long hair.
Right, exactly.
We know he watched the show.
Damn
but
hippie.
So I love Bridget Moynihan. I pull it up to 5.5. It's a recommendation. You should sort of see Battle of Los Angeles. Maybe
Sort of see it.
Maybe you come late.
It's not the worst thing.
Definitely,
you could see this.
by the way, that's a great idea. Come 20 minutes into it. It doesn't make any difference, but don't leave early because it's got kind of a badass ending. Pulls the overall grade to 5.03.
I think the
So we'll give it a 5.
The target audience is going to love it. Teenage boys are going to love it, and they did in the screening that I went to. They cheered at the end.
Did they?
Yes.
All right, there you go. So a very small recommendation for Battle Los Angeles, but I say go see it.